Why the narcissist withdraws sex. Sex, for the narcissist, is a major weapon of seduction. It's used extensively by somatics, elite, and to some extent, although in different forms, by cerebral and victim narcissists. Remember, those are the 4 cadres of narcissists that exist. The heaviest users of sex as a means of controlling you and drawing fuel are, of course, somatics, followed by elite, and thereafter cerebral and victim. And the way that they do so differs and varies with regard to the amount of sex, the form of that sex, the way that you're treated within the sexual dynamic. One thing that often occurs is that the narcissist will withdraw sex from you. Why does this happen? Well, when does this invariably occur? During devaluation. You might occasionally experience that during the seduction period, when you're on your way up. And it might be that the narcissist, having given you night after night of urgent, expert, exhilarating sex, one night says, not tonight. That's not being done because you're being devalued. It's because the narcissism is testing the extent to which you are under control. If you shrug and go, well, okay, no problem, that signals that you're not as under control as would need be, and therefore the resumption of your seduction should continue with particular intensity. If, however, you're upset and you plead, and and why? What's wrong? What's the matter? Have you gone off me? Am I not doing something right? That demonstrates that because you are concerned by its withdrawal, you are very much coming under our control, and therefore what will happen is we will probably give you an explanation to ease your concerns, i.e. ensuring that you are given assurances so you stay under control. We treat you benignly because you're still within the seduction, or we might then have sex with you to give you the reward for demonstrating that you're very much under our control. So if there is a withdrawal of sex during the seduction period, and you will know that it's the seduction period because everything else is going well with us. We flatter you, compliment you, spend time with you. There's no nasty behaviours. But if there is that withdrawal, it's temporary and it's being done to test you. It's done instinctively by the lesser or mid-range narcissist. Greater or the ultra has consciously decided, right, need to see how good our control is over this person. Tonight, no sex. Or at least the suggestion of no sex. Let's see how they react. Okay, she doesn't seem too bothered by that. Right, we're going to have to try harder. Or, quite possibly, maybe this individual isn't going to be good to be the primary source. Let's switch to a different secondary source instead. Or, we recognise this person will make a good primary source, but she's not yet under control. We need to put more effort in to secure them, and therefore intensify the seduction that is taking place. Where it's lesser or mid-range, that's what's effectively going on in the unconscious. In the conscious mind, the narcissist just thinks maybe he's tired, or that it's just time for a little break. But what's really happening is that the narcissism is causing the narcissist to test you, where that narcissist is lesser or mid-range. That covers, therefore, the position of a brief and temporary withdrawal during seduction. And understand that doesn't always happen. Often, and more usually, the narcissist continues providing you with lots of sex, flipping you like a burger in McDonald's, engaging all different types of behaviours, or at least providing you with lots of it and of a high quality. Not all narcissists, remember, are sexually proficient and sexually skilled, but you will get that with the somatics and the elites, at least to begin with anyway. But what about when there is a sustained withdrawal from sex? What if there is a sustained removal of sexual interest in you? This is one of the major uses, or I suppose more accurately, non-uses of sex during the devaluation stage. In the golden period of seduction, we gave you lots of wonderful, passionate, exhilarating sex. Now it's time that we take it away from you. How does this manifest? We no longer initiate sex with you. When you try and initiate sex, we reject you. We deliberately talk about other men or women to raise the suggestion in your mind that we are having sex with them and not you. You're triangulated. We start watching pornography, or make it more obvious that we're watching pornography in order to show that we are still interested in sex, but just not with you. Another form of triangulation. We turn our back on you in bed, basically signaling, don't touch me. We will sleep in the spare room or on the sofa to be away from you and the usual arena where sex would take place. We will accuse you of being an nymphomaniac and not caring about our feelings, treating us like an object, just wanting sex from us all of the time. We will utilise excuses. We're tired from working so hard to support the family. Please at least give me a break from your incessant sexual appetite. Show a little consideration. Pity play. Projection. Blame shifting. Accusation. We will accuse you of having an affair to legitimise our withdrawal of sexual interest in you. How can you expect me to want to sleep with you when I know that you're fucking somebody else? We will berate you. We will accuse you, for instance, of dressing like a slut, that you don't appeal to us, that you make it too easy almost, and that it's not inviting anymore. Of course, it's quite possibly the case that the way that you're dressing is precisely the way that we asked you to dress during the golden period, and this shows the hypocrisy, contrarian nature of us and the black and white thinking. The removal of sex in any relationship causes problems. The removal of sex in a relationship with us is devastating. Like much of what we do, we elevate you as high as we possibly can so that there is further then for you to fall. Again, the lesser and mid-range narcissists do that instinctively, the greater and the ultra do it consciously. What we have done during seduction is designed also to have an effect during devaluation. And where you are the intimate partner primary source, you will always, repeat, always be devalued. We bought you beautiful gifts, and now we buy you the wrong things or nothing at all. We took you to dine at expensive restaurants, and now we don't take you anywhere. Everything that was once wonderful is either removed or made awful, and sex is no exception to this. Because we've caused you to bind love and sex together, the removal of our sexual interest in you understandably hurts you. It upsets you. It makes you cry. It causes you to question us, pleading with us to explain why we will no longer sleep with you. Your reactions of bewilderment, upset, anger and distress all provide us with the negative fuel that is craved by us during your devaluation. This demonstrates that you are being controlled, and, of course, we want the fuel from you, and the potency of this negative fuel outstrips that of the positive fuel that you want provided. Furthermore, the prospect of the reinstatement of sexual relations with us allows us to exert control over you. It also means that in your desperation to get things back on track, you may well agree to do things that you ordinarily would have resisted, both within and without the sexual sphere. The ability to have such control over you, to manipulate how you react, not only ensures that we have you under control, something that is part of the prime aims, but it also provides us with the fuel that we need and makes us feel powerful. Don't think that our withdrawal is because we have somehow gone off you, or that we no longer find you attractive or a turn on. We never actually did to begin with. All of that was just done to make you think that way so that you were bound to us. Of course, the noises that we made, the gestures we exhibited and the things that we said all seemed so convincing. Of course they were. They have to be. Our narcissism makes it so, to ensure that you're conned. If we're half-hearted at the beginning, you're not going to get drawn in to the same extent. But it wasn't genuine. It was the golden period of fantastic sexual relations was once again an artifice, and it's done by our narcissism, instinctively with lesser and mid-range, consciously with greater and ultra, to take you as high as possible so that when we do devalue you, your fall is all the more spectacular, harder, and means that you're more likely to provide us with the control that we crave and lots of negative fuel. We do derive some physical stimulation from engaging in sex acts with you. And that is for residual benefit. But the reality is that we're actually just masturbating with your body parts. No matter how attractive or sexy generally people would see you to be, no matter how wanton, experienced and flexible you may be, none of it actually matters, because those things don't actually matter to us when we use sex in our seduction of you. Yes, we make you think they matter, but they don't. What matters is you giving us control, fuel, character traits and residual benefits. Accordingly, it might be when we withdraw sex from you, you think about trying to lose weight, buying new clothes, changing your hairstyle, taking up new interests, and even plastic surgery in order to make yourself more attractive to us, to try and bring about the end of that withdrawal. It won't work. The only way you will make yourself more attractive to us is by submitting and giving us control and providing us with lots and lots of fuel, because the negative fuel outweighs the positive fuel, and therefore you're on a highway to nothing. Withdrawal allows us to assert control over you, to crash you into the ground, so that you provide us with heightened emotional reactions and therefore more fuel. There is more, however, to our withdrawal than just doing it to control you, to gain fuel from you, to control you by causing you to be hurt and confused, rather than think, okay, well, he's just not interested in me anymore, I'll leave. You don't. You want to get back to that glorious, sensational, athletic, rigorous, long-lasting, orgasmic sex that was provided during the golden period, rather than just think, oh, well, that's the end of that, and walk away. You do not do so. And, of course, your emotional thinking, driven by the need to feed your own addiction to the narcissist, plays into this as well. Our withdrawal occurs also to preserve our sense of being special. You're well acquainted with our sense of self-importance and our innate belief that we are superior to all of those around us. In order to maintain this status, our narcissism causes us to act accordingly. One way of doing so is to withdraw from people, and not just sexually. During the seduction stage, we're all over you, we're everywhere, and contacting you in every manner that we can. You're blown away by this. It's part of the love bombing. When we begin our devaluation of you, we regard this period of repeated exposure as almost amounting to overexposure, and therefore this has reduced our currency. Familiarity can indeed breed contempt. We blame you, of course, for causing us to do this. We blame you for causing us to engage in love bombing, which has cheapened our worth by us appearing so frequently. In the same way that a Z-list celebrity becomes derided for turning up to the opening of an envelope, we regard this overexposure as a risk to our special status. Remember, this is going on in the unconscious for the lesser and mid-range narcissist, and the greater and the ultra is aware of this. And the exposure as a risk to our special status, we blame you for causing it. If you hadn't presented yourself to us so that we had to try and lure you in, we wouldn't had to have overexposed ourselves in this manner. In order to ensure that our special status is not eroded further, we then withdraw from you. In the sexual sphere, we have provided you with copious amounts of sex to seduce you, to control you, to gain fuel from you. Now, we withdraw, and we will do so. This will, of course, assert control over you, hurt you, so you respond by providing us with fuel, which also signals that you're under control, but it also enables us to retain our special status as this sexual god. This will allow us to retain a special sense of self as being wanted, lusted over and desired, because of our elevated status our narcissism has us believe beyond ordinary people. Accordingly, any attempt that you may make to draw us back to engage in sex when you're being devalued will be doomed to failure. Because you're painted black, it will just be seen as a threat to our control, and we will reject it further. Your response will signal that you're under control and provide us with fuel. If your response doesn't signal that you're under control, but you're providing us with fuel, we will keep interacting with you until we get that control, or we will withdraw. Withdrawal is easy. No longer having to provide something appeals to our economy of effort, and with lessers being lazy and mid-range narcissists liking the modicum of effort, being able to no longer provide something to you preserves energy which can then be used elsewhere. And remember, especially where you're dealing with somatics and elites, when we're not having sex with you, it's highly likely that we're having sex with somebody else. And that fantastic golden period that you enjoyed is now being given to somebody else. We conserve our energy by no longer having sex with you so that we can provide it to somebody else instead, possibly more than one person. Accordingly, the withdrawal of sex is done because it allows us to assert control over you through withdrawal. It provokes you to provide us with fuel, which is what we need. It enables us to refresh, if you will, our status of being special. The idea that you have eroded that by causing us to overexpose ourselves to you. It saves energy, because withdrawal is, of course, doing nothing. And this is all done because you are now in devaluation. You are seen as traitorous, treacherous, and malfunctioning, and therefore, unconsciously, you must be punished. And so all of the good things that you received are either turned bad or are taken away from you. And because for you, as an empath, and invariably having a love devotee trait, the question of love and intimacy and sex are all bound up into one. And therefore, the removal of sex not only hits you in terms of depriving you of something that was very, very pleasant and enjoyable, but it also goes to the core of your beliefs, because it affects your concept of being loved. And therefore, it is a very effective withdrawal. It is a very effective way of asserting control over you and provoking you to gain that fuel. Because although you can't spend all of your time in bed with somebody, you still do regard sexual relations as very important for the health of your relationship. It signals to you something enjoyable, signals to you that you're loved, that you're wanted. And therefore its withdrawal equates to not only the withdrawal of sexual congress, but also the withdrawal of love and intimacy, and hurts you all the more. It goes to the very core of your beliefs and being. Thus, when the narcissist withdraws from you sexually, this is because we are doing it to control you, to gain fuel from you, to punish you because you're now in devaluation. And it is to refresh our status, to remove the threat to control that you have caused as a consequence of our perceived overexposure. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.